Oberk Car Care, and I'm over at the Ring Brothers Classic Auto Body. It's the week before Christmas, and I'm here with Dan from Dan's Auto Detailing. Dan Smith is a good guy that I met a few years ago. He's helping me out, and we are going to be fully wet sanding and polishing this Ring Brothers built Dodge. We'll check it out. So this car is painted about a year ago, and we're going and finishing it all off so it can go to its customer. Because of the bodywork, carbon, fiberglass, all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of dieback over the last year. So I started on this car yesterday by myself, getting started, and completely cut all the panels back out to 1000 grit, and then refined that with 1500 grit, 3000 grit. And then we actually took this to 5000 and 8000 just to make it a little bit easier for Dan to polish out. I'm going to continue sanding on the other side. There was some heavier dieback where we're hand blocking it with 1000 to get it all flat and then kind of come back, but we'll see if you can see what we're working with. Some of them were really bad. You can see the dieback in the door. This isn't as bad as it was in the trunk and some other panels. A little dirty here, but you can see we were able to remove that. I should probably clean this up a little bit better, but we were able to cut it all out and it looks pretty good. So after we're all done, we're going to coat it with Technic Serum Ultra and get it all ready to go overseas, get delivered.
So we did this detail exactly a year ago, and there was a lot of cool stuff in the shop. From Strode, the Camaro being on the rotisserie, the Enyo truck being in raw carbon fiber, and the K5 Blazer being almost completed at this time. We picked up where I left off, and Dan and I started sanding everything and started polishing all the larger panels.
Pretty. Looks real good. Starting to get there. And starting to get it all cut out. Alright, we're gonna get ready to finish this down with some 3000. We blocked it out with 1000 grit, 3M wet paper, and then 1500. And now we are gonna buzz it with 3000 Trizact. We're gonna do it similar to what we would do if we were sanding mud or Bondo or primer, where because we're going to use DA, the 3000 is really mild. It's not going to do anything major, but just to keep everything flat, we'll crisscross and move evenly as possible. So you want to see the white slurry in there. If it's clear, it's most likely hydroplaning, but also it's not doing any work. So if you see that white milky residue, it means it's sanding, it's working. So what we'll do is wipe this off, look at it real good, make sure we didn't miss anything before we move on. everything looks good. So we'll continue buzzing it with the 3000. We're almost ready to help Dan. I'm gonna go ahead and grab either my Rupes hybrid or a rotary and focus on doing all the edge work. We're gonna box in all the panels. This is what we do when we sand all the way to the edge. We wanna make sure that we use a rotary tool or our scalpel, something that can be very precise on the edges to remove all the sanding marks, but still preserve the edges, not be careless, and then essentially box in each panel to come back and easily cut with a DA or a rotary with a bigger pad, but easily come back and just hammer out the middle of the panel and then move on. So we're gonna box everything in and we'll get it going.
Boxing in the panel avoids what you can see here, where the panel on the right has been compounded, most of the sand scratches are out, but all along the edge you can see the sanding scratches left.
We made a lot of great progress. We've got the entire car sanded, and we're just finishing up polishing on it. So we probably got another hour or so to go, just doing a little bit of touch-ups, and then maybe another half an hour cleaning up some of the sanding on the other side that we didn't finish today, but the car looks night and day different. I'm just going over right now to remove all of the tape and do the last few things that we need to do so that we can get a full wipe down, remove any compound residue or dust for the polishing process, and then we'll retape it. The last thing I want to do is be scrubbing any of the compound residue off after the paint is fully finished, because obviously we'll put light scratches in it and things like that. So we did a 3-step process on almost the entire vehicle. We blocked it out with 1000 grit sandpaper with both the KXK palm blocks and the KXK rid sticks, so 2-inch and 5-inch, and we blocked most of the stuff out here with 1000 grit. We then followed up with 1500. Some people go 1200, 1500. I typically jump 1000, 1500. Sometimes I'll do 2000, but I can, I'll typically even bridge from 1500 to 3000 grit. You just need to make sure that you fully sand out that surface with 3000 to remove any 1500 grit scratches. So the 1000 is really important. I know when people start wet sanding, they feel like 1500 is relatively good, and 1500 can make some huge improvements. It can really help what you're doing without removing too much material. But when you're working on an aftermarket vehicle that's been hand painted, if you want the texture to be removed in a flat and even rate, you need to step up or step down, your grit. You need to use a more aggressive grit. Even though you'd think you keep sanding with a hard block in 1500, it eventually will get it flat. It just doesn't quite work that way, and it typically runs with the highs and lows. It looks real flat, you polish it out, and you still have a little bit of texture there. So our goal is to go more aggressive, cut the tops right off those peaks, make sure we're removing as much texture as we can without spending too much time at this point. Like I said, the texture looks great. This car was painted a year ago, so it was originally sanded and polished out, and I'm sure it looked great, but all the paint sat, all the body work, and you get dieback, and you get some different things that happen in the bodywork where it kind of dies back, and some of the texture comes back, maybe some of the sand scratching comes back. There's typically a lot of body modifications or body work done to make these cars look this good, and it's just one of the natures of the beast. So a year later, that texture has kind of shrunk back or died back, and we're just diving in to sand it all out and clean it up. I showed you a clip of this door before where it showed some of the texture. A little dirty right now, you got to wipe it, but you can see that's all gone. It looks nice and clear, real crisp, and that's how the whole car is going to look. You can see a nice Ring Brothers reflection in the roof. Super happy with the way that it's turning out. Dan was a huge help. He's coming back tomorrow for day 3. I'm hoping that we can wrap everything up, or the majority of it, tomorrow night, and then be finished with the car on Thursday. So kind of a hammer down 4-day project. Some of these guys do corrections and coatings like this, which I do too. I mean, sometimes I spend this much on correction and coating, but this is where you hammer down and you really do what it takes, and you kind of do something that a lot of other, you know, everyday detailers don't really understand the process of. Like, well, if I do a 20-hour correction and coating, how am I going to sand and correct and coat a car in X amount of hours? And, you know, the answer is a lot of practice, a lot of hours behind the sanding block, a lot of time spent with, you know, really talented people like Jason Kilmer, Aaron Knox, you know, all these guys that have kind of been public in the way that they do different things, and you learn some of those things. And then a lot of it came from just being in the body shop industry. So I'm going to wrap up this car. We're going to pull up all the tape and wipe it down. It's late. It's like 8 o'clock. I'm going to hang out here till probably 10 or midnight tonight, and I'm going to set up my lights and do a little photo shoot of this bad boy once I get it all done. So you're not going to be able to see any of the micromer haze from our compounding steps, and we're going to make it look really cool with some nice lighting and get some cool pics. So all of the black on this car is not vinyl, it's actually paint. So we want to be really careful with it. Not, you know, obviously you can't replace it as easy as vinyl. And we want to make sure we don't scratch it, nor do we want to get anything on it that would stain it or worse, hit it with sandpaper. All right, it's day 3. Dan and I made good progress yesterday. We still have this side to finish polishing out, but everything else is done. I'm going to give you a quick walk around and kind of explain what we did after we did the sanding. I don't think I kind of explained our process, but obviously we're going to be using quite a bit of Oberk products. So let's take a look. Alright, so after we went through our process where we blocked with 1000 to remove some texture, as well as followed up with 1500 and 3000, we used a variety of different things here. For the things that were waxed or that need to be waxed or anything like that, I brought my little Obsessed Swiss Wax, one of my favorites. We're going to give it a quick spray down with G-Technic Leather Guard. We are also just going to be giving the customer a maintenance kit. So we're going to be doing G-Technic Ultra. I'm not doing Exo, we're just going to be topping it with C2V3, and then we're also going to be using, they're going to get a car care kit with some C2V3, some wash soap, some Oberk polishes and pads to maintain the car, since they have a detailer over there in New Zealand, and some wheel cleaner. So we did a lot of work with our trusty Rupes DA sanders, perfect for 3000, 5000, 8000. We used a ton of, well, we used probably a whole box of 3000. We used a ton of 1500, ton of 1000, a little bit of 2000, but I don't use a lot of 2000 myself. I jumped from 1500, like I said. We didn't really have too many D-nibs, but I always bring, you know, kind of the tools. And then obviously we have rid sticks and KXK mini papers to take care of all the tight spots. Outside of these, I got like a box of punched out 1000 grit for you know, leveling some of those areas. But overall, that's kind of the game plan. That's kind of the game plan there. And we got our inspection lights, one with the diffuser, so we can see kind of some orange peel and stuff like that. See what our texture looks like. Some 3000 hand pads for the 3-inch polisher or 3-inch sander, and for hand scuffing. Rotary, obviously we're doing a rotary step for the
first cutting, initial cutting with a wool pad, and then we are following up with the Rupes 15 and 3-inch pneumatic Rupes. Kind of got worried for a second. I didn't know where all the polishers were. So hybrid for tight areas, 3-inch as well for smaller areas. And yeah, so we're about ready. Like I said, the paint's looking good. We need to finish finish polishing on this passenger side as well as in between these things. Last night I stayed until about 12:30 in the morning, getting the front pinstripes and everything in between there. As you can see, it's all finished down with 3000 here. I went out and boxed everything in with the rotary yesterday, so I cut a lot of this stuff in. This is one of the first panels I did, test panel. So yeah, this one just needs to get finished out. Last night I went ahead and taped all of these and went through and cut and polished in there, which was kind of a headache, but I'm glad I did it last night because I don't feel like doing it today. And so our game plan is just to nail out the side and get it coated. All right, we're going through the polishing step. We're refining all of our cutting and compounding from yesterday and getting it to look perfect. And just kind of dialing in our polishing process. So. This is kind of what it looks like after our cutting or compounding. We got some swirls, lighter scratches that probably still need to be worked out a little bit, but overall, we're going to make all of this. That's all sanded and then cut. That's cut with 1000, 1500, 3000, then Oberk cut on a wool. And now we're going to make it look like that. It's all done. 3 days, probably well over 40 hours that I haven't calculated up yet. But it looks beautiful. Ready to go off to New Zealand. Make sure it's ready for the boat. This 1969 Dodge Charger has a 6.2 liter Hellcat crate engine with a Bowler T56 6-speed transmission matted to a QA1 carbon fiber drive shaft. This car is literally insane. It has a full custom chassis with Ride Tech drop spindles, HRE wheels, Baer brakes, and a ton more. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, make sure you smash that subscribe button below.